with my health journey and talking about my prolapse and what I've learned through that experience, then it would be helpful for you to understand part of what led me to here. So we're gonna go back in time quite a while ago. Okay, maybe not quite that far. But back to when I was in college, because some of the red flags and the signs of what I'm experiencing now existed then. I just didn't know it. I wasn't educated. There were indications that I had a weak pelvic floor then and could have started working on preventative measures for what I'm going through now, but I just didn't know. And at the time, like most of the things that you would ever hear about anything was do Kegels, do Kegels, do Kegels. And I am telling you, Kegels definitely have their place in life. But I have done so many Kegels and they don't fix what I have. Because I would get in a car at a stoplight, I would do Kegels. If I was on cruise control on a long road trip, I would do Kegels. If I was sitting in one of my college classes aboard, I would do Kegels. So I've done so many Kegels that I can't even count how many Kegels I've done. And they definitely have their place and they definitely have their benefits, but it doesn't fix the symptoms that I was having then. And one of the biggest symptoms is stress incontinence. It's an indicator that things are not anatomically where they should be, or that there is something more at play. I didn't know that. And I don't think I had ever been taught to properly engage my pelvic floor muscles in exercising. I've always been active. I've been a softball player. I had done running and lifting and HIIT workouts, all the things for as long as I can remember. I've always lived a very active lifestyle. At this time in college, I was in probably the best shape that I'd ever been in my life. My boyfriend and I were embarking on the Body for Life transformation experience, if you've ever read that book. And it's a fascinating book and it works, but it's not long-term sustainable. So it's you're on and then you're off and then you're on and off. But for 6 months we've been doing this and seriously best shape of my life. And then I got mono. I stopped working out as much as I had. I was actually under strict orders from the doctor not to, because my spleen was inflamed and had kind of dropped down to where it was in a risky spot. And so I was given the warning that if I even pushed a heavy door open, I could have a problem. So I had to cut way back and I was sleeping more and I just started a full-time job, just found out I had graduated, all of those things. And so all of that stress came into play, and then we were engaged and getting married and then embarking on this whole next thing. So I didn't think about it and I wasn't educated enough to advocate for that, to get help as I was in my annual visits, because I started very actively, I proactively started taking my health into consideration, and I started seeing an OBGYN when I was 18 or shortly thereafter. I went every year. I never asked those questions. I never thought that there was more that I could do. I had just never been told these are some of the symptoms of a weak pelvic floor and that there's something you can do to strengthen these muscles. It was never part of the education I had received. And I thought I was already doing everything that I could be doing or should be doing for what I was going through. And so I just figured, well, that must be, like, this just must be it. So I never thought about it again. So then you fast forward to several other health problems that I go through that contributed to this. And I don't know if you're like I am, but when I stop and think about the health challenge that I'm facing or a life challenge that I'm facing, I look back and kind of do a retrospective about what is it I have gone through that has led me to here. And I can kind of see how just every one of these experiences has compounded on top of it to get me where I am today, and facing what I'm facing now. A lot of it, I can't help but feel so passionately that people need to hear that a lot of these experiences may not be completely avoidable, but we can prolong when we have to face them or how impactful they are in our lives through education. And even if somebody anywhere along the line had actually planted a seed, not just some abstract idea of like pelvic floor exercises are fantastic for women. That's not always the best way to do it, but to have expressed to me what some of the symptoms of a weak pelvic floor are, I could be doing something about it, and that I should consider it, and that there will be certain factors in my life that would put me at higher risk for experiencing a pelvic organ prolapse. Had I had any of that information anywhere along the line, I could be sitting right here today thinking, well, I had been warned, I should have done something about it. And I could be like, well, that was on me. And I could take ownership of why I am where I am. But in this case, I had no education. I had no understanding. Even though I had taken anatomy and physiology class in high school, I had no idea the complexity of how everything fits together inside our bodies and how just truly complex it all is and how important it is. And I've learned more in the last month as I truly am trying to understand what I am experiencing, and what I've gone through before has compounded and added to this. And it's been a fantastic opportunity to really understand that. And one of the greatest things that I could possibly hope for is to help my daughter at some point in time in the future, when she's ready for this, to understand the life choices that we make, how we choose to engage with our bodies is so critically important for the experiences that we will have later in life. I know, like, it was joked about a ton when I was in college, because that's when I think we finally come to that awareness, is that what you do 10 years ago is impacting what you're going through right now. So what you did 10 years ago. So if you were wearing sunscreen and washing your face really good and all of that, then chances are you probably have more healthier skin now than you would have otherwise. So it's truly understanding life and our health overall is a long game. The things that we do now can contribute to our health in the long run. And of course, there are definitely some unfortunate experiences that we will go through that are not avoidable and then just happen. But in a lot of my case, there are things that were avoidable that I would be in a lot better shape now had I understood them then. And one of the biggest things I'm learning now is that I don't know what I don't know. And that seems to be a much larger pool than I ever possibly could dream, because it seems the more that I learn, the more I realize how much I don't know and how much more there is to learn. And I'm completely astounded by just the vast amounts of knowledge there is to gain. But part of this journey, I want to share with other women what I'm going through in hopes that maybe they can prolong the time that maybe this will happen, or even possibly prevent it through caring for themselves and for their bodies and their experience. So that's a lot of what I'm doing here. So taking that experience and having those symptoms, then the laughing, sneezing, coughing, jumping on a trampoline, running, all of those things, if I even had just the tiniest bit too much in my bladder, pee my pants. And now it's even significantly worse. Like if I laugh, cough, sneeze, guaranteed if I even lift too heavy, I'm gonna have to run to the bathroom or I'm gonna pee my pants, one of the two. And I've just learned to deal with it. It's not fantastic, but I've learned to deal with it. But now I'm understanding that was avoidable to a certain extent and at least preventable. So here I am sharing that and making fun of myself just a little bit in hopes that maybe somebody else is not going to go through that experience. So understanding those symptoms, and we'll go over more of this as I am uncovering and studying more, and can share the details of what I'm learning as I understand it better. But on the whole, yeah, like so much of this is preventable. And I wish to high heaven that there had even been a seed planted in my past somewhere so that I could feel frustrated with myself instead of the lack of education that I had. Just start thinking about your experiences. Is there a particular challenge that you're facing? Is there somewhere along the line that you had the opportunity to be educated, or that you're now having the opportunity to share your experience with someone else? I'm a big proponent of pay it forward. So a lot of this is me just opening up and sharing just my frustrations with the experiences that I've had so that somebody else doesn't have to go through those same frustrations. It's definitely way better to hear about somebody else's experience and be able to take that learning and be like, ooh, how can I use that to advocate for myself in the future? What things should I be learning about? What things does my intuition tell me I should be looking into? I feel like this women's intuition thing is really spot on and helps guide us to where we advocate for ourselves, for our families. As we go through experiences, we'll hear something that we just store a little bit, and then it comes to us and be like, okay, yeah, that's a relevant fact right now. That's something I should pursue. Lean into your intuition here, lean into that experience and take that time to really be keyed into what you're experiencing. That amplifying truth that this Authenticity Amplified is all about is part of what we're doing, exploring our stories to find that truth and to pay it forward. Okay, until next time, have a good one.